Today we're talking about the edge. Funny enough, the edge is both a beautiful place but also a terrifying one. A terrifying one because it's a place where you can fall, and it's an exciting place because it's a place where you can fly from. So, what we know is that education is standing exactly at this moment at its own edge of possible. We live in this age of paradox. Never before we had access to knowledge as we have now, and never have we struggled to make sense of it as we need to do right now. So, for centuries, education has shaped the world, but now, for the first time, education itself is being reshaped by technology, by society, by you. So we are facing a converging social, technological, and cultural shifts that force us to ask, what should education become next? So let's start with one of the challenges as an example of the shifts that we are dealing with. So I don't know if you are aware, not for certainly at this room, but the average student attention span has dropped from 12 seconds to 8 seconds, which is shorter than a goldfish. A goldfish is 8 seconds, by the way. So that's how quickly we can lose our learners if we stick to passive learning models and to long lectures. Another example, Generation Z and Generation Alpha, they expect interactive, social, and gamified learning experiences. But most classrooms, probably like this one, still operate as they did 50 or more years ago. Static, lecture-driven, and disconnected. We have created this generational mismatch. Our students, they live in this hyper-connective, interactive world, yet we are teaching them in a passive world. And it's not just about engagement. It's about relevance and employability gap. According to the OECD, over 40% of students, they globally feel that school doesn't prepare them for real life, for creativity, for problem solving, and for adaptability. And probably they are right. Meanwhile, the World Economic Forum reminds us that 44% of worker skills will be disrupted in the next 5 years. Yet, our curricula still overemphasize memorization instead of adaptability, collaboration, and creativity. Moreover, studies show that information overload and digital distraction make it harder for students to retain knowledge. 70% of students, they admit to multitasking during their lectures. So me as a professor, I'm competing with TikTok, with gaming, and even with Netflix. So this constant partial attention reduces deep learning and critical thinking, leading to lower academic performance and engagement. So the truth is simple. The system that we have today wasn't built for the world we live in. So what now? The future of education isn't about replacing teachers with technology, but it's about amplifying human potential through technology. But innovation, as you can see in this slide, it's such a big word. It doesn't even fit the slide, right? So we use it everywhere, in classrooms, in conferences, in strategic plans, we talk about innovation. Yet, we rarely stop to ask, what does it really mean to innovate in higher education? Innovation implies change, but higher education default is stability. Innovation implies risk. Universities are designed to avoid risk. Innovation implies value creation, yet we often confuse producing knowledge with creating real value for students, for communities, for society. So the real question becomes, how might we co-create the university of tomorrow, one that embraces change, one that takes smart risks, and one that creates meaningful value? To truly innovate, we must reduce the risk to imagine the future and increase the creative confidence of our community. So now we have Star Trek. So Star Trek, we really learned that any useful idea about the future, in the present, it sounds ridiculous. When I'm facilitating a workshop, when somebody laughs about one idea, that's where I stop. This idea must be good. Because ideas are not rejected by their merits, they are rejected by the way they make you feel about them, right? So if you are good in innovation, you also have to be good in persuasion. You have to persuade conservative people of the merits of your idea. So the biggest, the innovation, the hardest, the persuasion challenge. That's why the real challenge in transforming education is the mindset. Teaching people how to collaborate, teaching people how to innovate, and then teaching people how to implement new ideas and innovation safely. At my school, we've been experimenting exactly that. We have AI as a critical thinking partner, chatbots that provoke reflection in flipped classrooms, where students lead the discussion. In my lab, we have been prototyping human AI brainstorming, researching on how AI enhances creativity, and even how can creativity be more inclusive. We have been studying the impact of AI-mediated brainstorm in people that are introverts and usually don't participate in the innovation process. And finally, example of personalized pathways, dashboards and predictive analytics to prevent dropouts and to tailor new student journeys. So innovation also lives in space, the environments where the learning process happens. Our vision was to prototype a classroom that represents the school of tomorrow. Imagine a classroom that learns as much from you as you learn from it. So a space that is personalized, adaptive to student goals and to different rhythms, participatory, co-created by educators, students, and also with the help of AI. Powered by imagination, designed to spark curiosity and experimentation. To guide the development of this room, we used a framework from behavioral science from Professor Paul Dolan from LSE called SALIENT. SALIENT is an acronym that goes for sound, air, light, image, ergonomics, nature, and tint. This was our guiding principles to brainstorm around what we need to develop inside the room to make it the perfect room for teaching and learning. So what did we discover throughout this process? We discovered that when you co-create with users, in our case, students, teachers, and designers, something very powerful happens. They just don't use the space, they belong to the space. They take care of the space. They make it their own. So this is called the IKEA effect. So when people, because actually professors and students, they helped us to build the room physically. So when you go through voluntarily some kind of pain or discomfort, at the end, you'll feel happier and with a bigger sense of belonging. And then very unexpected outcomes. So we are a public university, so we have this, what we call the procurement tyranny, right? So even the procurement process was part of the learning process. So the space relies on very different furniture and ergonomic solutions when compared to other spaces in the university. So the goal was to showcase to our decision makers the benefits in investing in different and sometimes more expensive solutions, but with a clear and measurable impact on the overall experience. And finally, context matters. After building the space, the new space became a catalyst for inspiring professors to rethink their teaching methods, and also to have a safe place to experiment new solutions. It also gave rise to a new research stream in pedagogical innovation and learning analytics, with which data that was generated will inform us for future innovations. And last but not least, because innovation thrives in collaboration, this process also attracted new partners for the university. Companies, technology, architects, designers, all being part of the design of the future of the university. So it all began in an old prefab building, a forgotten space that we were able to transform into a hub for innovation enthusiasts. So, did we do everything right? Probably not, right? But our advice to you is just keep walking. Don't wait to have all the perfect ideas, the adequate resources in place. Just start and learn along the journey. You'll make a lot of mistakes for sure, and you'll reach a lot of dead ends. But at the end, and after devoting so much energy to this specific space, we truly understand that an innovation space is not enough. We actually need to act on three fronts at once. The space design that I already mentioned, so environments that adapt to different learning needs, but also implement at the same time new pedagogical models. We've been prototyping team-based learning, problem-based learning, communities of practice, even subscription learning. So the pedagogical model should go hand with the space. And then fast technology integration. We are working on a professor's cockpit where the professor can manage the ambience, the smell, the temperature, the lighting of the room, and also to build on the analytics that measure the impact on the learning process. Because at the end, we weren't just prototyping a room, we were prototyping an innovation culture. A culture where people have the chance to innovate, where people have the know-how to innovate, and most importantly, they have the will to innovate. A culture where creativity meets implementation to create a novel set of behaviors, routines, and ways of working. And that culture really pays off. Now this experiment is escalating, informing the design of new learning spaces in campus, and even to help design our new flagship campus in Oeiras, where innovation, creativity, and learning come together in completely new physical form. Like Sir Ian Blair, the former head of the London Police, once said, leaders are like tea bags. You never know how good they are until you put them in hot water. So leadership reveals itself in times of turbulence, and we all agree that education right now is in hot water. But that's exactly where transformation begins and where transformation happens. So this is not a time for fear, it's a time for reinvention. Let's not stop at the edge of possible, because the edge, it's not the ending, it's actually the beginning. The edge of possible is not where we stop in uncertainty, it's where we start to imagine and build the future together. Thank you.